I want to welcome everyone to How to Ensure Your Website is Your Workhorse. This is a new presentation for SCORE, and we're very excited to have our presenters with us today. And we'll do a brief introduction on who we have presenting with us here shortly. But first, I want to start with a little bit about SCORE. SCORE offers training for those of you that are thinking about starting a business or in the process of starting that business or are in business and trying to grow your business. This is one of our trainings as you are all here, but we also have, if you've never been on the SCORE website, the SCORE websites are fantastic. They have a ton of information, templates you can download, little presentations you can watch, just tons of information. So I do definitely encourage you to check those out. I will put the link to those websites into the chat after my intro. The most important thing that SCORE does, however, is mentoring. Our mentoring is always free and it is confidential. Our mentors are volunteers that come from all different backgrounds, different experiences and different skill sets to help our clients. You can meet with a mentor and create a relationship. Sometimes other mentors are brought in to assist, etc. So it's a really fantastic program, and statistics show that people that have a mentor are more successful in their business endeavors. The other nice thing about SCORE is it is a national organization. So if for any reason we can't find someone to assist you at the chapter level or the district level, we can go national and search that database for folks to help you out. So you might be wondering, how do I get a mentor? Super easy. You can go to the websites listed here, or you can put a little note in chat and I'll make sure the right chapter contacts you to set up an appointment. That's it. Nothing else. I mean, it's super easy. If you had a mentor in the past and it's been a long time, follow up with them. Run new ideas that you have. Perhaps they'll have some new ideas for you. So it's a wonderful thing to create a relationship and keep that relationship going. Okay. Oops. Sorry, my screen is kind of freezing up on me a little. There we go. We are going to use the Q&A tab for questions. So if you have a question for one of our presenters, put it in Q&A on the tab bar. I will then read that question out loud to those presenters to get answered. If you put it in chat, I may not catch it because the chat kind of can start moving and when things can get lost in the chat. You can use chat for just general type things that you don't want asked out loud, but that Q&A tab is key. If you want the question asked to the presenter, that's where you need to put it. Okay, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop my share, and Gail's gonna take over and introduce our presenters today.
So I want to thank Teresa for having us here today. And I also want to thank my fellow panelists for joining us on this exciting discussion about how to ensure that your website is your workhorse. Often your website is the very first interaction that someone has with you and your organization, and it may be the only interaction that someone has with you and your organization. So it is very important that your website serves you well, represents who you are as an organization, and provides opportunities for existing customers and prospective customers to accomplish whatever they most want to accomplish when they visit your site, as well as encourage them to complete tasks that are important to you and your business. So today's presenters are Phil McCormick. He's from Philip McCormick Design Works. It's a visual design and consulting firm. We have Robin Clapp, who's the owner of Web Design by Robin, a website design and development firm. Steve Almeida, who's the owner of Almeida and Associates, which is a business technology and integration firm, basically IT consulting. And then we have me, Gail Moraski. I'm the owner of Results Communications and Research, which is a digital marketing agency with a passion for helping organizations be found on Google. So SEO. So today we'll be addressing the following whys and what's in this presentation. And as we go through this presentation, we'll also be addressing the hows. So how do you basically address the whys and what's that we're going over in this presentation? And we'll provide you with the tactics to accomplish everything that you need to related to your website. So some of the things we'll be talking about today is why your website needs to both reflect your organization and resonate with your audiences, and how to make sure that it does that. Why your website needs to provide for an exceptional user experience. You may have heard the acronym UX, that's user experience. And Google rewards sites that provide an outstanding user experience. More and more that influences how a site will rank in search engine results. So it's really important that you get your user experience right. We'll also be looking at what actions do you most want visitors to take on your site. And I mentioned that in my intro. It's really important for you to anticipate what is a website visitor hoping to accomplish when they visit your site. You want them to be able to accomplish whatever they hope to accomplish. Those are called conversions, and it's really important that you set your site up appropriately to encourage the right perspective and customer behaviors on your site. And then lastly, we're going to be talking about how do you ensure your site is optimized for search? How do you make sure that your site ranks as well as possible in Google or other search engines so that your site ranks above your competitors? So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Phil, and he's going to kick off the web design discussion.
Great. So thanks for joining us, and let's just get started. Next slide. So for potential customers, as Gail mentioned, if they found you through a search engine or someone gave them your URL, your website is your brand. And you need to know that it's not just your logo, a business card, or your physical representation. It's the entire client experience. That's what a brand is. It's how clients interact with your business, how they're treated, and how they feel about your business. So your website is a critical extension of your brand. And that being what information is presented, how it looks, how it functions, its security, how it comes up in searches, and all of that folds into the user experience. And that should be informative, rewarding, and beneficial. Next slide. So when you look at the most visited consumer sites, they're carefully designed for their returning, current, and then also potential customers. They keep you engaged with their brand, their information, their marketing tactics, and they have common themes and practices, especially in user interface or user experience. Next slide. So why do you need a well-designed site? Well, your site's competing with every other site out there, including the ones we just saw. If you don't have a good site, people aren't going to stick around. So you want the audience to be able to easily navigate through pages and find information that they're looking for. Your site should immediately communicate messages about your business, your products, and/or your philosophy. The most important messages to communicate are the benefits of your business or your products. You want to make it clear how your business will make your prospective client's life better. A well-designed site immediately presents your brand in an attractive and functional manner and allows the viewer to find what they're looking for. And it inherently builds trust and creates loyalty in your business. You literally have milliseconds to impress your audience. Next. So this is Angren.net. And this guy sells new technology and gadgets. And when you look at this site, it's like, where do you begin? What's the message he's trying to communicate? It's unorganized, it's cluttered. He's selling all kinds of things. In the upper right corner, he's got an electric Porsche. And then in the lower left, he's selling a lawnmower. He's just throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks. This is not a good approach. It's the opposite of a very targeted approach, and that's what smart companies use. Next. So what you want to do is start with a clean design. You want to keep it simple. Less is more. Too many elements, as we saw in the last slide, are distracting and make it difficult to focus on content and the message. You want to make sure it's relevant and engaging. And one of the things you want to do is use white space, which is areas of free visual content, so viewers are able to easily find and process information. Only use content that supports the message of the page. Next, please. Okay, so this is a home page for AppTech graphics. On the left is a zoom in, on the right is the full page. You can see there's lots of white space, so you can easily navigate around the page and process the visuals and choose where you want to go next. At the top is the phone number, so you can call them. When you have a dynamic website, you'll be able to dial that right from the smartphone. On the right is the call to action, where you can just click and it will bring you to the contact page. The hero image there is featuring their products and what they produce, and that rotates so that people can see. And then below that are the print categories that they have. So you can pick and choose what you're interested in. And if you're not interested in that, maybe you're interested in testimonials from clients, which is below that. And then you can see below those testimonials, you can click on that and get even more. And then at the bottom, there's a gallery. So you can pick, if you see something you like, you can go even further in. All of these are allowing you to garner more information and learn more about the company if you haven't decided to request a quote right away. Okay, let's go to the next one. And this is the world's worst website. It's a tongue-in-cheek example of what not to do. So take a mental picture of this, because it has bad typography, imagery, the color usage is all over the place. There's links everywhere. The graphics are just competing with one another, and the navigation is at the bottom, making no sense. Next one, please. So what you want to do is you want to establish a visual hierarchy. Use a strong visual hierarchy through placement, size, and color. So in placement, it's important to keep in mind, viewers read in F or Z patterns across the top of the page is where the most important area is and where your most important content should be. They'll then scan down looking for cues to where they want to go next. And those cues include using size, such as bigger elements, which are seen first. And then another cue is using color. Color use is best done when it's the 60-30-10 rule. You do 60% of the main color, which is usually a neutral or toned down color, 30% for a secondary color, and 10% for an accent color. Next. So on this site, it follows the F and Z pattern. The logo and tagline are at the top. They're large and prominent, and you know right away what the company is about. The navigation is easily detected. The res is used to call out features such as the top left on the homepage navigation, and then also important messaging and information are called out with the red. This meets the user expectations and user experience, especially when you look at, they have links within the copy that they can go to other pages and learn more information. And then finally, the call to action button is easily seen at the bottom of the page. Next. So consistency is key. Your elements should be consistent throughout the site. Typography, colors, graphics, and images. The headlines, subheads, text, they should all be the same from one page to the next. I recommend with the typography, you don't use more than 2 typefaces. Remember the world's worst website? They had at least a dozen. And then with colors, establish a color palette and then stick with it. Next. This is the Serene Naturist website. It's showing us what not to do with headlines, copy, typography, images, and even navigation. Any guesses as to what the services they provide? None of the visuals let you know. They're a massage. Next. Okay, this Captive Advantage website, you see 2 different pages, and it's using consistent headlines, subheads, copy, colors, graphics. It all allows the viewer to have an understanding of what they're viewing and understand the content easily. The color and graphics are intentionally used for quick scanning of the entire page. On each page, there's one message being communicated, and everything on that page supports and reinforces that message. Next. So you want to use clear messaging. All of your content, your words, your image, your graphics, they should convey a clear message to the viewers. Do you have what they need? Can you solve their problems? What are the benefits of using your services or products? What regions do you service? Gail will have some great information on that coming up in the SEO portion. And then always try to set appropriate expectations. Next. So this is a water website, water delivery, okay? There's 10 different statements all competing for your attention, along with the confusing blend of images on this page. There's not anything clear that you can find and hone in on, which is a real bad way of doing things. Let's go to the next page, please. Whereas on this page, we're focusing on the commitment to customer service. In the top, there's a hero, there's a testimonial from a client. Those rotate so you get different messages. And then below that is the company philosophy or mission statement. They want you to know how important you are to them. And that's right up front. And then below that, they feature the 4 areas of services that they delve into. Let's go to the next one, please. So you want to maximize your call to action. Calls to action clearly define what a website visitor should do next. Every business is different and you all have your own processes. Those need to have call to actions that work specifically for your business. The most often ones used are schedule a free consultation. And then there's secondary ones that are there to build trust. If you want a viewer to learn more before they schedule a consultation, you have more calls to action so they can find out about what your products are, what your pricing is, where your region is, all those things about your business and products. And those calls to action, they should be conspicuous, and you don't do that with using colorful buttons or icons. Let's go to the next one. So here we have links cards, all right? I am Ling, you can trust me. That's up in the top left. Really? Where do you go next though? There's no apparent button or information finding tab or call to action. On the right there, it does say stop, which looks like a call to action to me. That's not working very well. Next page, please. So here we have on this contact page, it's made it easy as possible for giving the audience ways to take action. And there's 4 different ways. The first one is the phone number. And as mentioned, if you're on a smartphone, you can just press that phone number and it will call. You can also hit the email address, which uses the company URL. It specifically says that. And then there's a contact form. If you require sensitive information or specific documents, Steve will talk about that in his IT presentation. And then up in the top right, you can see you can get a 5-year analysis of how your company would benefit from working with this business. So all things that are used to help the viewer find out more about your company and take action. So that's it from the design side. Thank you for listening. And now I'm going to turn it over to Robin Clapp.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robin Clapp of Web Design by Robin. And Steve talked to you a little bit about clean design, clear message, and some calls to action. But this next section of the webinar is all about being responsible and taking measures to make sure your website is safe for those that are viewing it. Next slide. So every time you enter a website, you can view that padlock next to the URL. And this means that the website is secure. You may think this only applies to online shopping websites that collect credit card information for payment, but this is not true. It applies to all websites because it's about privacy. This may seem a little too complicated, but it's worth a lesson if it protects you and your privacy while online and those of your customers. The S in HTTPS stands for secure. And when you enter a website where it's just HTTP, the website you visit and all the data sent over the connection is in the clear. It is not private. When an SSL certificate is installed on your website, it adds an extra layer of security and creates an encrypted connection that protects your website's visitors' privacy. So any information shared between the website visitor and the website is now encrypted, and all the traffic to the website is now directed through your HTTPS channel. So if you click on that little padlock, and you can do this on any website, you can learn more about the SSL certificate and its protections. In 2018, Google decided that protecting the privacy of those browsing the internet was important. In fact, it's so important that it was going to present a warning to anyone entering a non-secure website. And furthermore, if your business is not secure, your website's Google rankings will be negatively affected, and Gail will cover that in her SEO portion of the webinar. Next slide, please. So the question is, are you turning away customers? Because let's face it, your customers use Google to find you, whether they know it or not. It's how we look for the websites we want to find by searching on Google, but also if we want to return to them. So even a current customer goes through the search sometimes in Google. So Google is the gateway. If Google warns you or your customers to steer clear of a site, you're very likely to do so. So protect yourself, your customers, and the integrity of your business by making your business website secure. So if you take away anything from my part of the presentation today, secure your website by installing an SSL certificate so that you always have the HTTPS and you have that padlock right next to your URL. Next slide. We've all heard about responsive website design. It's how your website looks on your desktop, on your laptop, on your tablet, on your mobile. Why is this important? 40% or more, and this number is growing every day, of your customers are visiting small business websites on their mobile devices. Let's face it, people are using voice detection to ask their phones questions. Siri, find the closest place to fill my propane tank. Siri, homemade ice cream near me. That's my favorite one. I'm always like, I always want to try new ice cream, homemade specifically. Your customers are on the go and they want to find you on the fly. And this means they are using their phones to visit business websites. So make it easy to do business with you by making sure that your website is mobile responsive. Next slide. Keep your website content current. It used to be a long time ago that websites were coded in HTML only. And if you wanted to update your website content, you needed to be able to know how to code. This has all changed with the introduction of content management systems, also referred to as CMSs, and my favorite one is Joomla. There are other very popular content management systems that work really well, but I will caution you against using the drag and drop website templates, the Wix and the Weebly's, because they don't rank very well for SEO. And Gail can get into that later, but if you're using one of the most popular CMSs, Joomla being my recommendation, you're going to have a better chance of putting in those keywords and those help you rank, where the other ones don't really give you access very well and they don't present well for the code that Google sees. All right, so having your website designed in a content management system allows you, as the business owner, to be able to log into your website and make the changes to your website in a safe and easy environment. It lets it do it yourself. And when you're doing it yourself, you can do it on your schedule and it doesn't cost you any extra. So you don't have to send it off to your web designer and wait for them to find time to do it. And then they charge you for the time they spend. So content managements are a breakthrough for business owners being able to access their website. So if you have a business website that you modify content on, I highly recommend that you do the following. Remove content that is no longer relevant or correct. So old prices, wrong business hours, items on your menu that you no longer offer. This just frustrates your customers. And make sure your copyright date is listed as the current year. When I see a website with a copyright 2012, I'm wondering, are they really still in business? And believe me, you see a lot of those out there if you're looking at business websites. Okay, I'm almost done. I only have one topic left. Gail, can you bring me to the next slide? Website maintenance is sometimes overlooked. And I like to think of it as a way to protect your investment. The best way to keep your website healthy over time is to have your website designer maintain the website. As an example, I will list what I offer in my maintenance plans. 24/7 monitoring. This tells me if a website goes down, and I can go look and find out why and get it back up as quickly as possible. Website backups on a regular basis. Software updates. If they're doing updates to the software, it's mostly because of security, and you want those patches to be installed right away. And you want to guarantee to fix anything that stops working, because the world is always changing. Things that worked yesterday may not work today, and you want to make sure that your designer guarantees they'll fix that. A healthy relationship with your website designer ensures that your small business website will continue to serve you well for years to come, because there is nothing worse than investing time and money on a website, paying the website designer, and then never seeing them again. Yes, the website might be beautiful, functional, working flawlessly the day it launches, but wait a year and it'll be hacked because it never got the ongoing security patches and the updates it needed. Website security, website maintenance is the way to ensure your investment, so please don't overlook it. And next up is Steve. He's going to talk to you about IT and how that works into the world of websites.
Thank you, Robin. And thank you very much. My phone popped up with ice cream locations when you were calling out to Siri. So now my stomach's growing. So thank you, everybody, for attending. And thank you, SCORE, for allowing us to be here. Really excited about this. I'm Stephen Almeida. I'm the founder and chief strategist of Almeida & Associates. We're an IT firm here in Southeastern Mass. And here comes the fun part of the presentation. I know all of you have been waiting all week long, maybe even sooner than that, waiting to hear. I need to know about IT. So here we go. Let's jump right in. Next slide. Oh, thank you very much. So what does IT have to do with your web design? Well, you heard Robin touch on it there briefly. If you don't do updates, if you just put up a static page 5 years ago, there's been a number of things that need updating on your website, and there's nothing worse than typing www.yourcompany.com and you end up at a Cialis commercial, or worse. And we've all had clients, customers, et cetera, that either have complained to you or you've gone to their site and you found some things you weren't ready for. So updates are incredibly important. And as Robin said, your website is a very powerful tool. And unfortunately, most times it's underutilized. Phil and Robin do a lot of great work. They help you with your logos. They help you with the structure of your website. And then you throw it up and you forget about the other pieces. One of the areas that you really should start looking at, not just from a web component, but your business in general. What are your communication needs? What are your email solutions? What kind of forms are you going to have on your website? Do you need secure messaging? These should be items that you talk about really early in the web planning process, because then you don't end up with a half-baked solution, or worse, you pigeonhole something that isn't going to give you the results that you're looking for. And also, you should already have a grasp of, but review any and all regulatory requirements that affect your company and your industry. Here in Massachusetts, all companies are required to follow the MA 20 CMR 17 I believe it's 1, but they've made a bunch of addendums to it, and it keeps changing. And that's a data security requirement. So be aware and make sure you're not asking for things on your website that are going to put you in some regulatory hot water. In addition to that, some of us need to follow HIPAA, SOX, FINRA. There's just far too many for me to list all of them. But you better know what you need to comply with, because knowing in advance can help with your web design, can help with your web structure, and it can also relieve a heck of a lot of stress later on down the line when you have to make some changes because you weren't ready for it. So today I'm going to cover briefly branding. That's more Phil, but how IT can tie in and help him. I'm going to touch base on email, and I'm also going to touch base a little bit on some secure file transfer. Next slide, please. So branding, you've spent a lot of money, you've spent a lot of time, or both, to come up with a great brand, to come up with a great visual statement. And then you stop there. So to maximize your efforts and to maximize that investment, make sure you're using your web domain email. How many times have you, contacted a company and you receive an email back from Gmail, Comcast, Verizon, AOL, frightening. You miss a tremendous opportunity there to brand, so your company stays right there in the mind of your prospect or your existing customers. Sorry. Reinforce your image and reinforce your brand. You spent a lot of money on it. Don't lose it by being silly with a Gmail. Using a free account also reduces your regulatory compliance. So, think about these things in advance. Email. So not all email is created equal. As we just briefly touched on, they're the freebies, the Gmails, Yahoos, etc. And then there's the email that oftentimes gets sold from some of the lower cost web hosts, or even most of the web hosts nowadays offer some form of email. But just because GoDaddy is a great company, and just because Google is a great company, that doesn't necessarily mean that they offer a great email solution for you. Using a solid email solution not only saves you a lot of time, improves your productivity, it saves a lot of the gray hair that's stressful when you're looking for mail and it's not there. And then also, there's nothing more stressful I apologize, my phone is ringing. Your access to all your information, messages, contacts, calendars, entries are all in one location. You're not running around looking your different devices and trying to find, where did I send that message from, or worse, where's that customer's information that I need to reach out to. So a small investment, even as a solopreneur, will improve your productivity and sanity, as you're no longer double entering and you're not flipping through your 5 different devices to find things. And the free solutions, they don't give you all the features, and they put your data at jeopardy. As I said before, by using them, most of the times you're no longer compliant. Next slide, please. So plan your forms carefully. Spend some time in advance, review what data you are looking for and what data you're going to ask for on your website. Review what's going to make that form a success, like Phil said. Make sure those elements are clearly defined so Phil and Robin can put them prominently on your site and make sure that you capture all of that information. Review the elements that you need. And be careful not to ask for privileged information like social security numbers, tax IDs, birth dates, etc. These will put you at risk and you're instantly not going to be compliant. Forms do get sent over email. So make sure your email solution won't let you down. Free solutions or low-cost solutions may cost you more in the long run. By using a web host, email like GoDaddy or Gmail can interfere with the flow of the email into your inbox. Many times they're on spam lists, and through no fault of your own, that mail is never going to reach you. And then your messages may be blocked or flagged and drop into the spam and junk mail. And if you're like me, you don't necessarily go check those on a regular basis. Often, those things will sit there for a few weeks to a few months. And every message you miss translates into missed opportunities. We have had a few instances in the past where clients complain things are constantly dropping into junk, or they're not getting messages at all. And simply changing them from their existing email solution to something a little bit better resolves the problem. We didn't have to do anything else, nothing stylistic, nothing to the website, just a simple email change. So don't let the investment deter you. Remember, you never get that first impression. If somebody's looking for your business, don't have them knock on your next door neighbor's door. Next slide, please. And in some cases, form's not going to cut it for you because you require some of those elements that we can't put on a website, or you're looking to maximize your investment in your website. you want a more robust communication tool. So you may ask your clients, staff, vendors to send you large files. Those can bog down your email system. Email wasn't made for the huge files that we now send and don't think anything of. And you don't want somebody waiting for that email to not be able to do anything else as they're downloading one, or God forbid, many large files. They could be out of commission for a few hours. We've worked with accountants, lawyers, real estate agents, some tradespeople that also would love to provide some better service and solutions to their customers. So they asked for forms. And in the old days, we had them fax to you. We had them email to you. We already talked about some of the burdens there. And then, they'd either come to your office and drop things off. Well, now we can set up some a secure transfer that doesn't utilize your email, which is going to make you insecure. So using a secure synchronization or a cloud tool will change the way you do business. You can receive any size file. It won't show up on your website or on your email, and it won't reduce the performance, but you gain access to it. And as Robin said, we're able to provide security to it because it is encrypted. It does have that HTTPS designation. You can remain compliant regardless of what type of file you're asking for, and you can incorporate it into your website. Again, leveraging your branding and improving your SEO, which Gail will talk about in a little bit. Next slide, please. So here I have a simple example, a client that needed some additional information because he's an accountant. And he didn't want to bring on additional people to track folks down and to manage the paper. So we set up a secure link on his website. It utilizes the same color and format as Phil talked about, so it continues his branding. And it allows his existing clients to update any of the folders and files that he's looking for. And new clients can log in and gain access to a checklist. So now they know what information the accounting firm needs and streamlines operation. And we did all of this without adding any staff. So these are just some of the great things that having a wonderful IT person working with you in your working with you, your web designer, and your graphics artist, because we can make a far more robust solution without breaking the bank, and also do it in a timely manner as we can incorporate all of the things into your build. So now we're going to have Gail help you understand what SEO is. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. So so today we're going to be talking about search strategies, and basically SEO is all about being found on Google. You wouldn't believe the number of prospective clients that come to me and they've invested a lot of time and money in a beautiful website. Their site is gorgeous. It provides for a good user experience. And then they can't understand why their website doesn't rank well in Google. They're doing audits themselves, typing appropriate terms into Google, and they don't understand why their website isn't coming up in search results. And that's most likely because they or whoever built their site wasn't aware of the proper SEO tactics to put in place. And so their site just is not optimized for search. And I did write a blog post about this that was titled, "Why Just Because You Build It Doesn't Mean They Will Come." And it's true, you can build this beautiful site, but it can be like on a little island sitting out there that no one can find because it's just not optimized for search. So we're going to talk now about how you make sure your site is found on Google. So I'm just going to go over some definitions. We were just saying SEO is search engine optimization, and it's basically the practice of making sure that you implement tactics on your website to support your site appearing as high up as possible in search engine results for desirable search terms. And I always say, you want to think about, you know, the products, the services, and the solutions to problems that you want to rank for, because many people aren't searching on your specific product or service. They're looking for a solution to their problem or an answer to their pain point. So that's something that you really want to give thought to as you go through the process of working on your search engine optimization. So there's two different ways that an organization can rank well in search. You can rank well through an organic listing, which is shown on this slide on the left-hand side. And you can rank well by running what's called a paid ad, or in most cases it would be a Google ad, but you can also run ads on other search engines as well, like Bing and Yahoo. On the left-hand side there, you'll see we typed Boston History course into Google, and an organic listing came up for a course that is being offered by Boston University. So that what's shown there is an organic listing. What's shown on the right-hand side is an example of a Google Ads or paid ad that came up for that same search term or phrase. So as I said, today we're gonna focus, well, maybe I didn't say this, but today we will be focusing more on the organic side versus the paid search side, since that's a whole nother complex topic and requires a lot of knowledge and quite a bit of a learning curve to get started. So our emphasis today is just going to be on focusing on ranking well organically, and the emphasis will be on ranking well in Google, because Google represents about, Google's used by about 92% of individuals conducting searches on the internet. So while we want to rank well and big in Yahoo, and whatever we talk about today is also relevant to ranking well and big in Yahoo, we're going to be focusing on ranking well in Google. So now we're going to talk about some of the most critical SEO tactics. And the ones I'm mentioning right now are ones that Robin went over in her presentation. So you want to make sure your site is secure, that it has an HTTPS address, as Robin discussed, meaning you have what's called an SSL security certificate. You want to make sure it's responsive to mobile or any device that accesses it. And then another thing is you really want to make sure your site loads quickly, because I had mentioned earlier that Google is putting more of an emphasis on user experience, and one user experience that Google does not favor is when your site loads slowly. And my experience when some customers come to me that have issues with SEO has been that many of them have very dynamic sites. So they have a lot of images kind of going in and out on their site, and things moving around and a lot of moving parts. And while that can be interesting to the visitor and can make your site, you know, attractive and creative, it can also really slow your site down. And Google just does not like to serve up sites that take a long time to load. So you really need to balance the dynamic piece with the site loads piece and not go overboard with all the dynamic stuff. So those are three of the most immediate things you need to think about: site secure, site load speed, and then the responsiveness of your site. But the other things we're going to be talking about today that are also very critical tactics are the completion of keyword research and using that to inform other organic SEO tactics that we're going to talk about, but things like your page tags, your headers, and your content. And then you want to make sure that you establish a brand new or claim an existing Google My Business profile if you haven't already done that. And then we're also going to be talking about the placement of what I call a geographic statement or description on your site, ideally housed in your site's footer, to make sure that Google knows about the geography that you serve. You need to tell Google what geography you serve, like where are your prospective clients or existing clients located, and also where are you located yourself. So, So I always like to say keyword research is key to SEO success. And that's because keyword research, as I mentioned earlier, really informs a number of other important organic SEO tactics that you need to put in place on your website. So it is a very important first step that sort of needs to take place before you invest in some of the other organic SEO tactics. So what is a keyword? A keyword's one word or a series of words, a phrase that someone in your target audience would put into Google to identify someone who offers the product, services, and as we discussed before, the solutions to problems or answers to pain points that your organization offers. So for my website, as I mentioned earlier, I run a digital marketing agency and SEO company. For my website, you know, some of the important keywords that I would want to rank well for are digital marketing agency, SEO company, SEO expert, help with technical SEO. And, you know, often people that enter search terms into a search engine will pose a question like how, why. And so you want to think about what are some of those questions that people are asking and looking for help addressing. And one, you know, even with my own website before I optimized it for search, and it's an ongoing process, and we are going to talk about that, why it needs to be an ongoing process. I did, you know, conduct research and found that SEO company, you know, more people use that to refer to SEO experts than anything else. But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't done the research. So keyword research, it's the exercise of figuring out what terms target audiences are putting in to a search engine. It needs to be conducted for the appropriate geography because often there are differences based on location as far as what terms people will be putting into a search engine. And, you know, even in the US, you know, you have differences sometimes in the lingo that's used in the northern part of the country versus the southern part. So you do want to conduct your keyword research in the appropriate geography. Now that can vary by product or service. If you have a bunch of products and services, it may vary where you offer them, particularly if you have, let's say you have an online or virtual service that can be accessed by anybody in the US. You might want to conduct your keyword research for the whole US. But if you're running in-person classes, for example, and somebody can only attend those in person, well, then you want to make sure you conduct the keyword research related to those in that specific geography where people can attend. So keyword research helps you figure out the average number of times a month someone is entering the various keywords that you generate, the list that you generate, how many times people are entering those into a search engine. And the other thing that you can get out of keyword research, and this gets really technical, so we're not going to dwell on it, but keyword research does also allow you to see what the competition is for keywords. Like what it basically lets you know the likelihood that you might rank well, or how you might fare if you ran Google ads based on the competition for other organizations to have a keyword shown for the exact same, to have their website shown for the exact same keyword. So some of the key steps before you begin your keyword research, you want to really think about who your target audiences are. You may only have one, you may have numerous ones, but you really need to give thought to that and think about whether or not different audiences would use different keywords or search terms to identify someone like you. And it's likely they would, if, even if you have, you know, 5 different audiences for the same product or service, they're probably using different terms to find somebody like you. And then you need to decide which of your products and services you want to rank for if you're not ranking at all, or rank better for if you're already ranking. I mean, it could be that you don't want to rank as well for certain services. An example I can give is, let's say you offer a service to some of your customers, but you don't want to offer it you know, to the general population, maybe it's like an add-on service, so that if a customer engages you for a particular service, you're willing to offer them this other service, or it's like an added benefit. So you need to think about that. I mean, I've definitely had a bunch of clients where they didn't want to rank as well for all their products and services and just wanted to focus on a couple. Maybe it's the ones you're most passionate about, or maybe it's the ones that you make the most money off of and have the best ROI. And then as we talked about several times now, you want to think about what geography you should conduct your research in. And like I said, that could vary by product or service. And then think about whether, you know, you feel like you will have the time and the comfort level to conduct the keyword research yourself, or whether you need to hire an outside expert to either conduct the research for you, or at least kind of support you and help you through the process. So there are a couple, there's a free tool that anybody can use to conduct keyword research. It's a Google Ads keyword planner tool. You do need to have a Google Ads account set up to use it, but you don't necessarily have to run advertising to use the tool. So that's one option. And what I love about the Google Ads tool, like I said, it's totally free, but it allows you to conduct the keyword research at a geographic level. So you can conduct it at the city level, a metropolitan area, a state level, the whole country. Where the Keywords Everywhere tool that I mentioned here, that's an add-on that you can add on to your Chrome or Firefox browser. I like to use that for what I call quick and dirty research, because the data that comes up is for the whole US. It's not geography specific, but if I want to get a general sense really quickly without logging into my Google Ads account, if I want to get a quick sense of, you know, what search terms people might be using most frequently, particularly when I'm on a call with a client and we just want to get some immediate sense, I'll go on and use that tool. The way that you pay for that tool is you buy credits, and the more you expand the list of search terms you want to look at, the more you pay. So it isn't free, but it's not crazy expensive either. So those are the two tools that I tend to use to conduct keyword research. There are plenty of other ones, but these are free or low cost. And then once you have used the tool to generate a keyword list, and really what's involved is you give the keyword planner tool a bunch of initial keywords, you know, things that come immediately to mind that you think your clients would be using to find an organization like yours. After you plug those into the keyword planner tools, it will generate a much larger list than what you initially provided it. So while it'll spit back the average monthly search volumes and how many people are searching a month on a particular term, it will also give you tons and tons of new ideas. And that's what you want to get, because you don't want to miss out on an opportunity because you weren't aware people were using certain keywords to identify someone like you. So you want to sort the keyword ideas by the average monthly search volume. And keep in mind, I always like to think about the list on an annual basis. So even if the search volume looks kind of low on the monthly basis, it's good to kind of in your head multiply that by 12 and say, okay, what does this look like on a yearly basis? And is this a keyword or search term I want to pursue with my website? But you sort your list, review the highest volume keywords, and then, you know, I usually say just go ahead and highlight the ones that make sense to your particular product, services, and solutions. You want them to be relevant. You want them to really be authentic to your business. You don't want to be gaming Google. Google knows when you're gaming. It doesn't like to be gamed. So you don't want to be picking keywords to use in your content or your tags that aren't really relevant to your business. You want to be authentic about it. But as I discussed earlier, then the next step, once you have conducted your keyword research, is to employ the high volume keywords that are appropriate to your business in your website page content. And again, that should be based on the nature of the page. Don't be putting keywords into a page if it's not relevant. Those keywords aren't relevant to the page. Same thing, you want to employ some of those high volume keywords in your website page headers. You know, you hear the term H1 and H2 sometimes. It's very important that you include high volume keywords in your website page headers, because Google does index and crawl your website page, and it is going to be snagging those keywords from your content. It particularly indexes headers, so you want to make sure that you call out the keywords there. There's something that's called a meta page title tag, and that's also a very important piece of SEO real estate. So you want to make sure that you have SEO page title tags on your site, that you complete them. Meta page title tags are one and the same. And as Robin mentioned earlier, when you have a content management system, the content management system will either allow for that and provide for that by having fields that you fill in. And if not, like if you have a website like WordPress, there's always plugins. There's a variety of SEO plugins that you can use with like a WordPress site that will allow you to provide that page title tag information. And then you also want to include those keywords in some of your blog posts or on an FAQ on your site. And then the great news is that your keyword research can also inform other marketing outside your website. So you can use some of those keywords as hashtags in social media or to tag your YouTube videos, because YouTube at least used to be, I don't know for sure if it still is now with the prominence of TikTok, but YouTube used to be the #2 search engine. So many people do go on there to gather information. So you want to make sure your videos on there are tagged appropriately. So the two most common types of organic listings, and there are other ones, but these are the key ones that you see, are a listing like the one shown here in the middle. And I had shown you one earlier for people searching for a Boston history course. This is what's called an organic listing, meaning it's not a paid ad. It's usually a little blurb about your website. It has what's called a meta page description, something that could be a call to action or enticing copy. And then there'll just be a link within it for people to click through to your site. And then particularly if someone uses a near me, uses the term near me in their website, like Robin did with the ice cream, the homemade ice cream. And or particularly if somebody includes a geographic term in their search query, like a specific town or a part of the state or whatever, that's when you'll see listings like this come up. And these are what's known as Google My Business profiles or Google Maps listings. In fact, Google just changed the name. So a lot of us in the marketing field use the acronym GMB for Google My Business profile, but Google just changed the name so that you can either refer to it as a Google My Business listing, and I think the other one is a Google Maps and Search listing or a Google Search and Maps listing. So anyway, they're one and the same. But you'll see on the left-hand side, this is really what a Google My Business profile looks like, and this is the one for my business. And then often when you use the term near me, you'll see what's shown on the right-hand side here. This is, usually it will be the map, and it will list 3 organizations that meet the searcher's geographic criteria and also the business category or product or service someone is searching on. And these 3 that come up are referenced as the local pack. So you always want to try to come up in the local pack. I mean, underneath the 3 listings, there's always an opportunity to see more listings, but it's ideal if you can get your site to rank in these first 3 so that, if people don't click through to read more, your site comes up there. So let's see. So like I said, you want to make sure that you either have access to already or you claim your organization's listing on Google Maps. You definitely want to have that. It doesn't just support local SEO, it supports global SEO. So you might say, well, I don't have a storefront that people can come into. I'm a service business. you still definitely want to have a Google My Business profile. It supports ranking overall, and it's just a best practice. So, and when you do have a Google My Business profile, you just want to make sure you keep it current and fresh and accurate, and think of it as another form of social media. I always tell all my clients, post to that as regularly as you do social media. You have the opportunity to do that. And the more you keep it current and the more you post to it, the greater the likelihood that you're going to be served up in that local path that I showed you, like the top 3 spots. So here's what to do if you do not have your Google My Business profile set up yet, or there is a listing. So sometimes you'll see a listing for your business, but you didn't claim it. Somehow it's set up there on the map, but you don't have access to it. So you want to just type the address of your organization into your browser or Google. Just type in your address. You'll see the red dot, and you can just follow. We're not going to go into all this here, but you can just kind of follow the prompts that Google serves up to take ownership of it. Ultimately, if you don't already have access to it, Google has to verify that your business is actually located at the address you claim it's located at, and that you are the true owner. So it will send you a postcard in the mail. It usually takes about 7 days, and then you can use the code that's on the postcard to set up your Google My Business profile. So I wanted to quickly show you what a geographic statement or description might look like for your website. And I would say, you know, easily 80% of people that come to me as a new client for help with SEO because their site isn't ranking do not have this type of information on their site. It's just a very, very common mistake that people make as far as not letting Google know, you know, where the customers are that they serve. So what geography do they serve? And letting Google know where they're physically located themselves. I think it's such an obvious thing, and people get so caught up in their own heads, like they know what their business is, but they forget that they need to let Google know where their business is and what their business is about. And so, you know, as I put up here at the top of the slide, Google is not a mind reader. It isn't a mind reader. It's never going to make any assumptions about anything, and it doesn't interpret information. So you never want to assume Google's going to take a leap and read something about you and come up with new keywords based on what you have. And so this is a website shown here that I worked on with Robin. It's a really cool website that is accessible to individuals with disabilities. But you'll see here on the left-hand side, we have a lot of information about who this client, they're a durable medical equipment company, which geographies they serve. We even call out certain metro areas so that if people are searching on those key metro areas, their site will rank well. And then over on the side, they have information about where they're located. And as I mentioned earlier, it's ideal if this information can be in the footer of your website, because Google is indexing and crawling each and every page of your site. So if you have it on the footer of every page, that's more opportunities for Google to understand where you're located. So SEO, as I said, it's not a one and done activity. It's an ongoing activity. I mean, even if you're ranking well, it can be so easy for that dynamic to change. A new competitor or several new competitors can come into your marketplace. And I've seen it happen with clients where someone new comes in and all of a sudden you're not ranking as well. So it does need to be an ongoing activity. It's not a one and done activity. And, you know, I went over some of the most critical things you can do to rank well and things that I think you should try to do prior to launching a new site. But there's so many levels of SEO, and there's more detailed things you can do that are kind of a deeper SEO dive. Some of the things that you could do prior to launch or post-launch is really thinking about even the tags that you use with your photos, because Google will crawl your images and the tags, and that will help inform Google, one more opportunity to inform Google about what you're all about. You should always continue to add new content, new blog posts if you're blogging, FAQs that can include some of the high volume keywords, because you want to keep your site fresh anyhow. That's something that Google will reward you for. It does not like to serve up sites that look like nobody's touched them in years. You know, it's a best practice anyhow. And then you want to always, as part of your SEO strategy, to include the links that are shown in this graphic here. So you want to have a lot of links within your site to other pages of the site. Certainly you can link to other blog posts, and it's just that's a best practice. You want to have some links to external credible sites, because that also makes Google think of you more highly. And then you want to get what they call backlinks from external credible sites. And those are links on other sites to your site. So if you're working with organizations that you have a collaborative relationship with, and they're a highly credible organization, you may want to reach out to them and ask them if they consider putting a site link on their site to your site, a backlink. The other thing I do want to warn people about is what's called black hat SEO. So black hat SEO is involved in is engaging in SEO practices that are not considered above board or that Google frowns upon. If you ever get approached by organizations to sell you a bunch of backlinks, in most cases, you should just run and tell them you're not interested in black hat SEO opportunities, because I have seen organizations get into a whole host of problems by getting involved in purchasing these backlinks. And I'm glad to talk to anybody, you know, as a sidebar at some point about it, but I would not get involved in that type of practice. So I hope you got to see from our presentation that it really takes a diverse group of experts and a very diverse set of knowledge and education to get your site where it needs to be. There's so many factors, so many considerations, and you know, all the experts on this panel are here to help you. And I just want to thank you for attending, and thanks SCORE. And I guess we'll open it up to questions.
Yeah, guys, that was fantastic. You just provided a tremendous amount of information. Hey, Gail, would you mind copy pasting those contacts into the chat so people can access those easily?
Oh, sure.
And there were some questions that were submitted that got typed answers. So if anyone would like to open that Q&A tab, they can look at some of those answers. But here are a few left. We'll go through those. How much is a reasonable fee for a keyword search and SEO help with a website? Does anyone?
Okay, I guess that's me. So it really varies. It really varies by the extent to which you want help. Like some people just need somebody to conduct the keyword research, but they're comfortable writing their own page title tags and figuring out where in their website to incorporate the content. And some people want help with all of that. They don't feel comfortable writing their tags. They don't know where to include the keywords. I mean, it can be anywhere, you know, from a few $100s to a couple thousand. And it also really depends too on how many products and services you need to gather the information for, and also how many target audiences each of the products and services have, because they might search differently. So it really does vary a lot depending on the nature of the help that's needed.
What if your business isn't limited by geography? Because you talked a lot about geography. If you sell online courses or virtual seminars, for example, to anyone, how do you handle that?
So probably not going to want to hear this, but I always use the phrase, if you try to rank everywhere, you won't rank anywhere. It is very, very difficult to rank globally or even for the whole US. particularly if you're in a very competitive marketplace. It's almost impossible unless you're like a consumer brand or household name. And that's why I do always say, I think it's really important to at least try to narrow your geography and, you know, go after a smaller area originally, like it could be the Northeast or New England if you don't want to go after a particular state, but it is very difficult. And I think that there should at least initially be some emphasis on more local search, and you can try to expand after that. But it isn't easy to rank for the whole US or nationally from the get-go.
What are good resources to keep current on best practices in SEO as the landscape changes?
Well, honestly, you can go to my blog because I write about SEO all the time. Like there's numerous blog posts there, all in the results.com. And if you go to my blog at allintheresults.com, I recently wrote a blog post, it may be 3 down on the list, about some of the, it's a whole list of digital marketing and SEO resources, you know, other credible and reputable websites on the topic.
Gail also posted on her LinkedIn pretty often too. So if you friend her on LinkedIn, you'll see it there too.
Thank you, Robin.
Somebody's asking about how much you charge for a website with using the expertise of all of the presenters today.
So that's a combined effort. And I know when I'm working with a client, I'm building the team depending on their needs. And so it's very customized. My portion is based very specifically on page count, but depending how many emails they need set up to go over to Steve, or whether or not they need HIPAA compliance, where they need a platform they link out to, that's a whole different setup charge. Phil works with logos separately from the website. So you might want to do your logo first before you head into your website. And then Gail she can start as early as I start building the website, but her practice really happens when the website goes live. But you really want to talk to whoever you're interested in working with and get in writing what their prices are, get a quote and a contract, and find out all of these prices before you get started so that you can either budget for it or be prepared. But yeah, I mean, we work with small businesses. We're very affordable. This is our bread and butter, and we want you to be able to compete. And it's so important to have that professional online presence. I hope I answered that question. I know my prices are listed on my website, but other people can't really list it if it's very specific to what they do, very customized to what they do. But reach out to any of us if you want something more tangible.
All right, and I see that the contact information got put in chat for everyone to access. Also, the link to the recording has been put in chat. So I'll hopefully have that posted yet today if you want to watch again. And I think that covers like all the questions we have for today. And I just want to thank our panelists today for just an information-packed session. I think that this was fantastic, and I hope we can have you guys all back again sometime in the near future. And I want to welcome and thank our attendees as well, in allowing us to provide information for you. Okay, thank you everyone, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, and
it was fun.
Thank you to the attendees.
Have a good afternoon.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.